If you want to get successful in learning a language or any other skill in your life, the most important thing is daily execution. Because it doesn't matter if you use the worst strategy in the world. If you do it every day, you will always beat the one who's just doing it once a week. So in a language learning, this is, for example, self-study. Someone who's doing self-study 7 days in a week compared to someone who's meeting a teacher once in a week will always beat this person. It's simply because you give your brain the sleep mode effect. I call it sleep mode mastery, that we come into the habit of learning a language daily. It means that your brain is naturally finding those connections inside the language, and this one is basically happening in your sleep. But you have to feed your brain throughout the day in order to make the sleep mode effect happen. And now when it comes to building a new habit, the worst thing we want to avoid are so-called 0 days. That means that one day we don't do our daily exercise. There's a 0 inside our tracking. And to get rid of the 0 days, the first most important thing you have to do is really tracking. It creates accountability with yourself. So every time you go into this table and you see if you're reaching a goal or not, then it gets you more into the habit of actually doing it every day. And therefore I recommend in the beginning that you just do it for like 15 minutes every day, like really, really low, just to get into the habit of doing it every day. Because here's the biggest mistake what people are doing. They go from 0 to 100. And then your brain is literally shocked by that huge amount of work you have to do. And then it's getting resistance, and then you can never build this new habit. And to avoid this, we want to start with like 15 minutes and slowly increase it. So the moment it's getting part of you, like those 15 minutes, you scale it to 30 minutes and then to 45 and then so on. Let's say you start out with weekly execution. So once in a week, you do your exercise. And then you compare the next week that you do it 2 times a week. That's already a small step better. And then on the next week after, 3 times a week. So you only compare like on a higher scale of numbers. So for example, your goal is to make it 7 days a week, every day, then just go like only from week to week a little bit better. So when we're forming a new habit, there's something called habit threshold. That means at some point the habit is taking over. So at the beginning, you kind of have like to force yourself, your mind into doing this new habit, and you have to actively go for it. But at some point, the habit is taking over, it is becoming a part of you, and then it will come naturally by itself. And then the absolutely most important thing we want to avoid is the 0 days. Because when you're about to form a new habit, you basically are teaching your brain to form this new habit. So it kind of looks like this, that at the beginning you have a lot of resistance and yeah, you have those gaps in between. And then your goal is to make those gaps between your habit execution less and less, and therefore the resistance is getting less and less, and at some point you hit the threshold and then the habit is taking over. And habit taking over just means that it becomes a part of you and that it will naturally conduct itself. And the opposite can happen when you, for example, try to get rid of a bad habit. Then you have very small resistance in the beginning, so in fact it would be hard to stop a habit because you have something like bad conscience and stuff. But let's say, for example, here smoking, you would try to reduce the number of cigarettes every day and to reduce the gaps between each habit execution in this case. And at some point, the resistance is getting higher and then you will stop smoking. So as you can see, forming a new habit is nothing else than a skill. So it just takes a bit of time and you have to actively steer against it or for it, however you want to look at it, to make it happen. But it's something we have to step by step establish. And it's not something we have to go from 0 to 100. And if you start looking at as a skill you have to train, consistency, then you will make it happen. And if you want to learn more about how to make it happen, check out my other videos, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.